Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel, Feldenkrais Now. Today we're going to do a lesson that is going to focus on the spine. We're going to work on the spine from the top area, so just the cervical vertebrae, just under the skull. Then we're going to start working on the bottom part of the spine, so the sacrum and the lumbar vertebrae. And then of course we're going to work on it in a double rotation, so we're going to take, say, our head or shoulders to one side and the spine and the legs to the other. So then we're going to get a double rotation in the spine. So this is a very deep opening and mobilization of the spine. It's also going to work on the shoulder girdle and on the pelvis. So let's get started, please. Lie on your mat and take just a moment to notice how it feels to lie on the mat or on the floor or on the bed, if that's where you're more comfortable. Just notice the difference between the right side and the left side of your body. Basically, the floor is giving me, the floor or the mat is giving me a lot of information. Let's take a moment to check our breathing. And just notice as you inhale what moves upwards and outwards. And not less important, when you exhale, what moves downwards and in. See if you can release your jaw. A good way to do that is to have the mouth open a little bit or to swallow. And now please just roll your head gently to the right and to the left. And here you don't want to achieve anything. You just want to look to the right and to the left and notice what can you see with ease. So I'm not trying to overdo it, because as you know, the vertebrae of the neck are sensitive. So I'm just checking, huh? No need to push. And now we're going to differentiate. We're going to look at above us at the ceiling, find some point, and now let's move our head to the right and to the left, but we keep looking at that point above us on the ceiling. So we're differentiating the head movement from the eyes. The eyes stay fixed, but the head is moving. This is a very non-habitual movement. And this is interesting for our nervous system. Try not to let your eyes go to the right and to the left. Let's do two more. Notice your breathing. Try not to hold your breathing. Last time. And now we're going to reunite the natural movement of the eyes and of the head. And see if perhaps it's a little bit easier to rotate our head to the right and to the left. And remember, we did the differentiation very briefly, so if you do it longer, you probably get a better result. All right, let's stand both our feet on the mat. And let's take our arms to the ceiling and let's join our hands. So we've created a triangle. Now the important thing here is that we don't want to have any pressure from the get-go. A lot of people have this tendency to kind of pull their arms upward. It's not necessary. Your shoulders are on the floor, your shoulder blades are on the floor, and now you're just going to move this triangle of your arms to the right and to the left, and your eyes and your head are following the movements. Now, try not to bend your elbows. If you bend the elbows, you have less movement in your shoulder girdle. So your head is moving, you're looking at your thumbs, and try not to start letting your hands slide away from each other. They're glued together. This is a relatively small movement. Keep your jaw loose. Keep your breathing soft. And now we're going to do another differentiation. Come to the center with your triangle. And now let's take the arms to the right and the eyes and the head turn to the left. So the arms and the head are in opposition. So you're kind of looking over the shoulder that is opposite your hands. And again, be gentle because the neck is sensitive and we don't want to overstretch the vertebrae of our neck. But do try to take your attention to the vertebrae that are moving now. Where do you feel it? And make the movement even a little bit softer, a little bit gentler. Like it's a game. And now come to the center with your eyes, with your head, with your triangle. And let's reunify the eyes, the head, and the hands. So the triangle of your arms is going to the right and to the left. And your head and your eyes are following the movement. And now if you want, you can make it a little bit quicker. So you're giving yourself a little bit of a massage, the back of your shoulder girdle. Notice also the ribs of your back, how are they moving on the mat. And let everything be and rest for a moment. And notice if your arms are lying a little differently on the floor, if your shoulder blades are a little different on the floor, if your neck feels a little bit longer, that would be nice. Notice your breathing. And stand the right foot on the floor and gently press the right foot into the floor and let your pelvis roll to the left. Now see where your head wants to go and let it. The head is heavy, it's approximately 6% of the body weight, between 6 and 7. So this can easily come to about 5-6 kilos. If you take 1.5 liter bottle, that's 4 such bottles, it's pretty heavy. So let the head go with the pelvis in the same direction. Now, what you don't want to do is you don't want to let your knee fall to the left. The knee is facing the ceiling, and this creates an opening in your hip joint. And so you will feel that the knee is moving away from your right shoulder, and your chest is opening, your pelvis is opening, your abdomen is opening. So notice that. And now just to notice the difference, keep your head in the center. You look at the ceiling and you see how different is the movement now. Is there less movement in the spine? Is your throat a little contracted? So just to check the difference. And now again, move your head with your pelvis 2 more times. It's actually kind of a deep opening when you think about it, of the right side of your body. Stretch out your right leg and take a rest. Notice if perhaps the right side of the underside of your pelvis is come towards the floor a little bit more. That's perhaps, if you feel that, it's because your hip joint has loosened and relaxed. Let's do that on the left. Put your left foot on the floor. Your foot is relatively close to your sit bone, and you press and let the head roll gently to the right together with the pelvis. Notice if this is different. It probably is. Maybe the opening is not as big. Notice how your left knee moves away from your left shoulder, and all the left side is opening, the left side of your abdomen, the left side of your rib cage is opening and moving away from the floor, from the mat, from the table, whatever it is. And now keep your head in the center just for 2-3 movements. Notice, does it block your throat? Does it block you in the sternum and the upper area of your chest? And again, unify the movement. It's sometimes when we do the wrong thing, in parentheses, that suddenly the right things feel so much better. It's good to do the wrong thing sometimes. All right, take a rest for a moment. Feel the contact of your pelvis with the floor. Does there seem to be a bigger surface touching the floor, the mat? See if you can loosen your jaw, keep it loose. Take 2 breaths in and notice the movement in your abdomen, in your chest. And notice what moves as you exhale. Now please bring both feet to standing. Put your feet to standing in such a way that there is no tension in your legs. Now hug yourself. Hug yourself and place your hands in the direction of the shoulder blades. So a lot of people tend to like grab their shoulders. That's not it. You want to go in the direction of the shoulder blades. And this will help you to roll your chest, your head, and your shoulders to the right and to the left. So your left hand grabs your right shoulder blade and lifts, and your right hand grabs the left shoulder blade and lifts, and you're rolling right and left. Gently, softly. If you did this a long time, you would probably feel that your upper body, your torso wants to move upward. And that's also a nice thing to do, but that's a different lesson. So just be very free. Let your head move together with your shoulder girdle. And now let's take our attention to the spine. So the whole spine is rolling to the right and to the left. Feel that. You're giving yourself a massage. And bring it to a stop. Take a moment. Take a rest. Maybe leave your legs standing now. And now we're going to start moving the spine from the lower end. So please take your right left above your left leg, cross it over, and try not to have any space in between. Some people do this. Now, if you have a reason to do this because it hurts you to close your legs, that's fine. But if it doesn't, so it's better to have your legs closed. And gently take your legs towards the floor on the right side, as far as they will go. See how much the left side needs to open. If you touch your lower ribs on the left side, they will be moving away from the pelvis a little bit and from the abdomen. So all the left side is opening a lot. Make sure not to do this too quickly. I see many times in my lessons that people they kind of do this. They just kind of sway their legs right and left, which is nice. You know, if you feel like doing it, fine. But if you really want to open the lumbar vertebrae, give it a moment and try to work with the rhythm, with the flow of your breathing. This can go very deeply into the right side of your rib cage, in the front and in the back. And your chin will probably move downward. Let's do 2 more. Not too fast. See how this pulls the chin downward and a little bit into a diagonal, right? And come back to the center with your legs. Open your right leg from the left leg and take a rest. Maybe stretch out your legs so that you can feel the difference between the right leg and the left leg. Perhaps you feel that your right leg is a little bit more open, so that the rotation is become a little freer. This comes from the hip joint, amongst other things. Okay, stand your legs on the mat, please. Cross your left leg over the right leg and gently bring your knees, your legs towards the left. You will notice that it might be quite different. This could be because you may have some tension on one side of your lower back and and not on the other side. Sometimes we have problems in our lower back and it's more centralized in one area and not in the other. And you can feel this. So notice your breath, let your head come a little bit to the left, a little bit. Try not to hold your head in place. It reduces the movement. See how your chin gets pulled a little bit towards the breastbone. And one more thing I'd like you to notice is that as you take your legs to the left, the inner edge of the right foot is what's giving you support. And as you bring your legs back to the center, the whole of the right foot is on the floor. And this is a good exercise also for your feet. So bring it to an end and just stretch out your legs and take a good rest. Okay, I spoke in the middle of the lesson of a double rotation in the spine. So that's what we're going to do now. Stand your legs. Take your right leg over the left leg. Stretch your arms to the ceiling. Connect your hands and keep them connected, and try please not to bend your elbows. So now you're going to take your legs to the right and the triangle of your arms to the left. The movement is much smaller now. And again. Your arms, your eyes and your head follow the hands. Small movement, and try to coordinate the size of the movement of the legs and the arms. Very small. And now what you're going to do is you're going to bring everything back to the center. Let your legs drop a little bit to the right, just where it's comfortable, and start gently moving your arms to the right and to the left. To the right and to the left. Remember not to bend your elbows. Once you do that, the movement in your shoulder girdle is reduced and your shoulder blades are no longer moving. The eyes go with the hands. The head and the eyes go with the hands. Not so easy. This is already a little bit more complex. Come back to the center with your legs. And now let's take the triangle of our arms to the left a little bit. And just move the legs right and up to the center. You might feel a very deep stretch in some of your vertebrae. Keep your jaw loose, keep your jaw loose. Keep your breathing easy and resist the temptation to bend your left elbow, right? 2 more times. And then bring your legs your knees to the center, your arms to the center, and release everything. Stretch out and take a well-deserved rest. And try to think of your spine. Try to see, as difficult as this may be, if there's any echo in your spine right now. All this double rotation, where do you feel it? Maybe some vertebrae in the center of your spine are a little bit looser, more released. Take a breath or 2. As I like to say to my students, awareness is work. So don't think because you're resting physically and you're starting to check what's going on in your body that this is actually not difficult. That is work. Sometimes more work to be aware of what's going on in your body than to just make a movement. Please stand your legs on your mat. Cross your left knee over your right. Take your arms to the ceiling. Put your hands together. And now gently just take your legs to the left and the triangle of your arms to the right. And back. And again. So this is a very small movement. Try to notice where do you feel it in your spine? So the lumbar vertebrae are going in one direction. The vertebrae of the upper thorax are going in another direction, and somewhere in the middle there is a nice movement. Try not to make the movement too big. We are very focused on what is in the front of our body, the knees, the arms, but think of them just as tools for the spine. So don't try to make the movement big. Let's make it smaller. Let's make the movement really small. Back and forth, tiny. And think of your spine. Okay. And now take your legs a little bit to the left where it's comfortable and move the triangle of your arms right and left. Your eyes and your head follow your hands. And this can feel frustrating because the movement is so small. So let's make it smaller. Smaller. Play with your shoulders, your shoulder blades. Bring it back to center, bring your knees back to the center, bring the triangle of your hands back to the center. And now we're going to take the triangle of the hands to the right, and we're going to move the legs to the left and back to the center. We're looking at our hands. Not an easy movement. And this may be going exactly to the vertebrae in your thorax that are a bit tense. I find many times in my practice that people come to me with pain in the lower back, in the neck, but oftentimes one of the roots of the problems are actually in those vertebrae that we are opening now. The vertebrae that are in the middle of the thorax, approximately here. And that's where you may be feeling the stretch now. 2 more times. Bring your arms and your knees to the center. Open the cross of your legs and just rest. You might feel some interesting thing in your spine. I suddenly feel that this area of my spine, which I know is tense, is lying on the floor a lot better. Let's try and use the fact that perhaps some parts of our body are now better on the mat to let our breath be very open. So you have more support perhaps, and then the front of our bodies can be more open in the breathing. See how the ribs open as you take a breath in and a breath out. Again. And now very gently roll your head to the right and to the left, without any stress, without any pressure, without any need to achieve anything. This is always surprisingly hard for most of us. Okay, so that's it for today. Please come, roll to the side and come to sitting, whichever side is more comfortable for you. Come to the sitting position, and then you're going to come to standing, and you're going to notice where your head is in relation to your spine, and where your upper body is in relation to the feet. So that's it for today. You might feel some release in your spine even several hours after the lesson or even the next day. And it's nice to become aware of that. That can help us come back to that feeling of increased freedom. Thank you for joining me. Bye-bye.